All right, so hyperlapses have been insane recently on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, you name it, and you need filters. So I'm rocking the FreeWell filters again for this. But before we get that, we got to do an appropriate introduction. So what's going on, guys? My name is Eddie.
Eddie, that is not how you do it.
How do you do it?
What's going on, guys? Eddie here. What's going on, guys? Billy 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 here. What's up, guys? Billy here. What's up, guys? Billy here. What's going on, guys? Billy here. What's going on, guys? Billy here. What's up, guys? Billy here. What's going on, guys? Eddie here.
And today I'm here with Billy Kyle, and we're shooting just hyperlapses all around Jersey City area. Billy is one that has done some tremendous work with hyperlapses recently. Billy, why do you like hyperlapses all of a sudden?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is because it's easy, right? Like, you can kind of just let the remote sit there. Right now, we're running some hyperlapses as we're shooting this video, so that's what's cool about it. But also, I kind of like the process of taking photos and turning them into videos. Like, you kind of get the photos that you can use to share, and then you can kind of put them into a video, share it in different kind of form. But also, I like that it's so unique and how you can kind of find different perspectives. Like, the clouds moving right now, you wouldn't really be able to tell in Jersey City over, you know, Manhattan, but you're gonna be able to see that in hyperlapse, which is cool.
And recently you taught me, or you made a suggestion around the hyperlapses I did in Dominican Republic, and you told me during the day, kind of slow down motion, right?
Yes.
So how do you accomplish that?
Well, with the filters in your hand, right? You need these. The filters are huge when you're actually doing a hyperlapse. I mean, even when I'm kind of doing my sunset hyperlapses, I'll throw an ND filter on there just to kind of exaggerate the motion. I think that that's really what ties together you know, the entire hyperlapse, is when you see that motion and you see the motion blur. Because if it's just like a static image, it's a little bit tough. Like, I have the Mini 3 Pro, and you're not able to manually or automatically control the shutter when you're doing a hyperlapse. So that's why I always use the Mavic 3, because it lets you do it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're doing out here today, guys. I'm going to continue to put it into practice. I'll tell you, it takes some time to adjust your settings in a sense and create your composition in terms of seconds, because the filters now is adjusting your overall exposure, right? So you got to really know how to tweak it and dial it in. So we're going to give it a go, and let's see how it turns out.
Peace.
Peace. Peace. Wait, but today we're going to be flying with the Mavic 3. However, so
What's going on, everybody? My name is Eddie, aka Mr. Eddie Nunez, and I am a content creator in New York City, really focusing on drones. But in 2023, we're going to be expanding to include cameras and other tech gear such as computers that I leverage to create my content on my channel and other social media platforms. But today we're going to be talking about specifically hyperlapses. Now, I've noticed tremendous amounts of hyperlapses being uploaded, not only on YouTube Shorts, but also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, even Facebook. And I think that this new increases of hyperlapses and overall drone pilots shooting more hyperlapses really stemmed from the Mini 3 Pro. As you know, the Mini 3 Pro allows the camera to switch from a horizontal, a landscape mode, into a vertical mode. And that's really, really easy to shoot natively on the Mini 3 Pro and then upload over to your social media platform, such as Instagram. And today, however, we're going to be really talking about my journey with hyperlapses and specifically leveraging the Mavic 3. In this case, I am leveraging the Mavic 3 Cine. But again, as all my recent videos, it doesn't really matter which of the Mavic series you have, as long as it's a Mavic 3, you can accomplish the same results. So hyperlapses is not new overall, right? We've been seeing hyperlapses, I believe, ever since the Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom drones. Then of course the Air 2, the Air 2S, and now the Mini 3 and the Mavic 3 series all have hyperlapses. It is a fantastic time-lapse feature with your flying camera, aka a drone, where you can capture some really, really nice videos overall with a lot of movement. And like I said, hyperlapses hasn't been all that new. However, in the Mavic 3 and Mini 3 now with the Fly app update, depending on which drone you have, there may be a difference. So on the Mavic 3 Classic, for example, you are really limited in terms of some of the features and hyperlapses, and not really so much limited. It's just some opportunities that are missing from the complete drone here, the Mavic 3 versus the Mavic 3 Classic. And what I mean specifically is that when shooting hyperlapses, you are limited down to 4 seconds in between shots, whereas the Mavic 3 regular and then the Mavic 3 Cine, you can go down as low as 3 seconds. But just very minor details that I've noticed comparing these two drones. However, what I really want to achieve in this video today is discuss my journey with hyperlapses with the Mavic 3. So what I've been trying to do and what I've been practicing as of recent is really to add a lot of motion blur with my hyperlapses. My good friend Billy Kyle sent me some feedback when he saw my Dominican Republic hyperlapses, and he said, "Hey Eddie, in order to make it look natural, you should really add motion blur." Now, it's very easy to add motion blur when doing hyperlapses at night because you're going to do essentially long exposure hyperlapses, right? You're going to take a long exposure photo, and at night, again, that's very easy to achieve because of the low light. You can open up that shutter to a longer period of time. For example, half a second or 1 second between each shot. Now, during the day, however, achieving a long exposure hyperlapse can be difficult, but it is achievable as long as you have filters. And I've been leveraging the FreeWell filters to really achieve these hyperlapses that I'm looking for with that motion blur to make it more cinematic, if you will, to make it more realistic versus just objects, moving across the frame. And can get very jittery. Once Billy shared that feedback with me, it just reminded me, like if you were to shoot video overall and you don't have an ND filter, you can't keep that 180 degree rule, right? So you can't keep your shutter at, let's say, 1/60 if you're shooting at 30 frames. You have to crank that shutter all the way up, and then your footage starts to look very jittery. And that's exactly what happens with a hyperlapse during the day. You get some movement, but it's not natural movement. And having that motion blur is definitely more cinematic, if you will, but more pleasing to the eye and more natural, which is more important. So like I said, I've been leveraging FreeWell filters on my drone to really achieve those hyperlapses with an ND1000 or an ND512, even an ND256, and then using your aperture maybe around f8, f4, all depends on how much lighting and the time of day that you're shooting, can help you achieve smooth cinematic hyperlapses with a lot of motion blur. Now, if you follow Billy Kyle on Instagram, you've noticed that he's been uploading tremendous amounts of hyperlapses, really good hyperlapses overall, with a lot of motion blur, whether it's during the day, obviously at night. And what I really love that he's doing is that he's using the sunset hour, twilight hour, to really capture, that change in time where we go from, just a normal afternoon over into sunset, then into the evening hours. To me, those are the best hyperlapses to do. But of course, you have to time it extremely well. And the Mavic 3 and the Mini 3 Pro with the extended battery is the drone of choice to achieve those type of hyperlapses because of its extended battery life. With the Mini 3 Pro and the extended battery, you can easily get about 40 to 50 minutes on that battery, especially if you're moving slow and just taking some stills, which is what the Hyperlapse is doing. And then on the Mavic 3, we all know that that battery is fantastic and you can get a good 35 to 40 minutes shooting those Hyperlapses as well. Now, recently I got a chance to meet Billy Kyle out in New Jersey, and we did try to do some hyperlapses over Bayonne. I myself was really, for the first time leveraging those long exposure hyperlapses during the day to get some motion blur in my hyperlapse. During that time with Billy, I had a limited amount of filters with me. That I would say would be my suggestion number one, or best practice, is to take all your ND filters that you have, because you just don't know how the daylight will change, especially if it may be overcasted versus a very clear day and harsh sunlight. You want to have all your filters with you because you might need to tweak as you shoot throughout the day and as you switch from location to location. And of course, the atmosphere changes and the environment changes. It will affect your hyperlapses and your filter of choice. In this case, I had an ND8, an ND16, an ND32, and an ND64 with me. And for this shoot, I thought I was going to leverage the ND8, but boy, I was wrong. Even switching the Mavic 3 to an aperture of f10 or f11, the ND8 wasn't good enough at all. So what I had to do was bump it all the way up to ND64. I wish I had like an ND128, even an ND512. That would have done extremely well for me, I believe, in capturing additional motion blur, just because I would be able to leave my shutter open for a longer period of time. In this case, I was shooting half-second hyperlapses with my aperture at f10 and ISO obviously at 100 with the ND64 installed, and I wasn't able to really open up the shutter longer for about maybe 1 second, which I would have wanted to do, because just the ND64 wasn't enough combined with the aperture of f11. Thanks, Billy, for sharing your best practices and the reason why you have a passion for hyperlapses. I couldn't agree with you more. Hyperlapses is just such a mesmerizing video to watch when you combine it with the perfect framing, right? When you have a great subject with great music, it really, really, blows your mind with what you can capture in a hyperlapse. And Billy has done some fantastic hyperlapses. I'm going to show here some of his work that he has posted on Instagram. If you haven't followed him on Instagram yet, please make sure you do so, because a lot of these he's uploading to his Instagram, and you may miss out if you're just subscribed to him on YouTube. But as you can see, he recently had 2 hyperlapse reels on Twitter blow up by Tesla, where he shot some of the factories that Tesla has around the United States. He shot an incredible reel there, which really grabbed the attention of Tesla and the attention of Elon Musk, because it's just a unique perspective and it's not the same old footage that you see day in and day out. All right, so let's conclude this video with some tips and best practices for a successful hyperlapse. Number one, I would say definitely incorporate filters, right? Use ND filters. ND filters are going to make a world of a difference, especially during the day. Obviously at night, you do not need an ND filter because just with the low light, you'll be able to open up the shutter for half a second to a second, which really is going to allow you to get that motion blur that you really want to get in your videos. Tip number 2, make absolutely certain that you are capturing raw photos as part of your hyperlapses. Now, all the drones that shoot hyperlapses today will generate a MP4 video for you that, it will stitch all the photos together and you can play it back quickly on your computer, on your phone. You can share it on your socials as well right away. But if you really want your hyperlapses to pop, all of the professionals, including myself, and I'm not a professional, but all of the professionals take the raw images that's captured from these hyperlapses. We import it to a photo editor of choice. In my case, it's Lightroom, and we edit. I usually edit one photo to my liking, then I paste the same edit to all of the other photos, and then export it in a sequence, and then import it into my video editor of choice. I'm gonna get to tip number 3 in a second of why that's important, but it is extremely important that you edit your raw DNG files from the Mavic 3 or Mini 3 or Air 2S, whatever drone you're using to do these hyperlapses. It is going to make a world of a difference if you just export. If you use just the generated file that the Mavic has, it's not going to look the same as if you were to import these photos and edit them. It's really truly going to make a difference, and in my opinion, it's well worth the investment of time. Now, tip number 3, and the reason why you want to import that video or those frames into a sequence in your editor of choice, in my case Premiere Pro, and that is because you'll want to stabilize it. So remember, you're now shooting extended shutter hyperlapses, long exposure hyperlapses, long exposure frames, and there's movement in the air, right? A drone is flying, there's wind, it's not gonna be perfect. So you might get some bouncing. You might get some bouncing of buildings, you might get some bouncing of just the overall frame, and you can stabilize this using your editor of choice. In this case, I use Premiere, as I mentioned, and I just apply warp stabilizer with a full analysis, not a quick analysis, so you can really analyze all the frames within my hyperlapse, and I adjust it to about 20 to 30% on the warp stabilizer to really give you that smooth, that buttery smooth, as I like to say, hyperlapse as the end result. Tip number 4, I think also is extremely important, and that is to plan your shot. So with hyperlapses, there are several modes that you can choose from on your remote. You can do a circle, you can do a course lock, you can do a free hyperlapse where you can just move your joystick to wherever you want to position your drone to, and I forget the 4th. Oh, and waypoints. Waypoints is the 4th, and you want to make sure that you're very methodical and strategic with which one you choose, and not make it so much into a boring hyperlapse doing the same thing over and over, or just flying into the air, if you will, and not really focused on the subject. So what I've been doing very recently is course lock hyperlapses, when you can set the direction where you want the drone to go. You can make the drone go backwards. It's 3D dimensional, so it's you can make it go left, right, forward, backwards, you name it. But what I've been doing is really making it go in one direction, but active tracking a subject. So you highlight a subject, it's going to active track it, it's going to track lock into that subject, and as it's pulling away or pulling in or moving away during that course lock, it's going to keep that subject in frame. Now, you can also do the same with circle, where you select a subject and it does an orbit around it, counterclockwise or clockwise, or you can just start to use waypoints. And I know Billy's hyperlapses are generally waypoints, and he does a really good job with those and switching elevation, switching different perspective from one point to the next point. It just takes a little longer, in my opinion, to set waypoints because you have to fly to each of the destination and mark it as a waypoint. But like I said, the end result, it is fantastic. And I am going to start to leverage waypoints in my hyperlapses because I do see how it is extremely beneficial and very rewarding at the end. All right, so that's gonna be it for today. Hyperlapses, go out there, try them out, do them. Try these best practices. Try to install filters on your drone when shooting hyperlapses during the day to capture that motion blur. Definitely set your camera on manual, not on auto settings. And let me know what questions you may have in your journey with hyperlapses. Hyperlapses is something that you progressively get better the more you do it. You start to get more creative. You start to find new subjects that you can really shoot. And there's so much fun to do that I'm gonna actually go out there tomorrow morning for sunrise and continue shooting some additional hyperlapses. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and the bell to get notified on my next video. And until next time, peace.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the